So Captain America Brave New World just released, and I have some thoughts. Anthony Mackie makes his first big screen appearance as Captain America. The real question is, does he live up to the hype? The short answer is yes. And no.
Boo this man!
Now, while he stands tough, notice that this man does not have his... I'm just kidding. I'm gonna throw in a couple more 8 Mile references in here. I got to. Yeah, I really got to. Now, while it stands strong in some areas, it doesn't feel like a true Captain America movie sometimes. I'd almost make the argument this is more of a Hulk sequel, mainly because they've already burned through most of Captain America's villains, not leaving Sam Wilson too many people to fight. I mean, the only people they have pretty much left is the Serpent Society, and they do make an appearance in this movie, but it almost kind of doesn't matter. So instead, the movie leans into those Hulk elements, and that is actually some of the best parts of the movie. I do like the idea of them having Sam Wilson go against the leader. I do like the idea that Sam Wilson will be clashing against the Red Hulk. I love those parts. That is the most engaging parts of the movie. But how they execute them, well, let's talk about it. We'll get to that part. The weakest aspects do come from the first half, where the film struggles to world build while also being a pseudo sequel to multiple projects that includes Falcon and the Winter Soldier, as well as the Incredible Hulk with a little bit of the Eternals. And then they also trying to connect everything now. Like, you guys had these other movies, and this is the one that you're trying to shove all your connections into now. Like, now you picked the wrong movie. I do feel like some of the times throughout the first half of the movie that when it was trying to connect together, the pacing was definitely hurt a lot, because often where a scene would transition from one to another, it felt like it was the end of an episode and the start of another episode, rather than feeling out like the film is flowing together really well. That's another thing I didn't like. Also, another thing is the information overload by repeating the same information multiple times over and over and over again. I felt like they worried the audience that would get dumb try to pay attention to certain information. So that was another thing I kind of didn't like. There's just a lot of redundancies when it comes to information. Like, we literally had one scene where Sam would receive information from a villain, and then 5 minutes later, I mean literally 5 minutes later, another villain would give him the exact same information, and I'm just like,
You're saying the same shit that he said.
the villain. The leader makes his first official MCU debut, while the Incredible Hulk set up his transformation. This is his first full-fledged appearance, but unfortunately his design is very hard to look at. I mean, this dude is like straight up butt ugly, and also it doesn't help that he was written pretty stupid. I don't want to spoil the movie for anyone who hasn't seen it so far, but I will say this: it does involve when he can control the Hulk. Even though he has the ability to control other people, he somehow doesn't use it on the Hulk. That's just a hint, I'll put it that way, because they try to make him sympathetic. He's not menacing, and it's just kind of boring to listen to. Another thing is, this movie was basically the biggest Thunderbolt Ross propaganda movie I've ever seen. I mean, they make this man like a goddamn angel throughout the entire movie, and they keep saying, oh, he was a bad person at one point, but you know, his legacy, he's changing. And I'm just like, yeah, it's kind of boring. I will say this: the last villain I do have to talk about is Giancarlo Esposito as Sidewinder is completely wasted. Disney has a habit of casting phenomenal actors and giving them weak roles, just like Mads Mikkelsen in Doctor Strange. He should have been Doom, and I stand by it. He has big Doom energy, but that's another story for another day. Esposito is supposed to play a physical match for Sam Wilson. Him, a 66-year-old man who is 5'8" with no superpowers, is supposed to be an actual threat to Sam Wilson. Yeah, you figure that out. I couldn't tell you. The people who had, I would say, the best performances was definitely Sam Wilson and Danny Ramirez. People said they didn't like him, but I did. I think he was solid. Also, Carl Lumbly as Isaiah Bradley and Harrison Ford as Thunderbolt Ross, they gave a pretty good job, and I thought that they did fine in the movie. The only other person I kind of had a problem with was the actress. Is it an actress? I don't know how to say the character's name, but the character's name is Ruth, but the actress name is Shira Haas, and this is the smallest woman I've ever seen. It is really hard to believe that she can flip a man even with like leverage. She's just that physically small. It's very jarring to watch her action scenes. It's just ugh. The action scenes, other than her action scenes, were kind of hit or miss. The choreography felt, kind of decent, but it was shot in a way where sometimes it just undercuts some of the shots and scenes. So I don't know. There are also a lot of disruption in the flowing of the fights, making them kind of hard to follow sometimes. Certain scenes had pretty poor lighting, and you're supposed to have like a very like complex fight scene inside of them, and it's just really hard to see. But most of the aerial combat scenes with Sam was really fun to watch. Him fighting the Hulk was also super fun to watch. And just be clear, he's not fighting the Hulk, he's surviving him. And I think that that's a pretty fun part of the actual movie. And this is another thing. Do I think this would be a $1 billion movie? I'm gonna tell you the truth, I don't think so. I have a feeling this is gonna be a strong like 600 to maybe 700 if it maintains its current success. But I do feel like the marketing hurt it a lot. It showed the Red Hulk way too much in the trailers and at key moments. This kind of hurt the film. I wish they should have kept it a bigger secret, but to each his own. Another issue is that they're trying to create these Marvel standalone films, and they aren't working like they used to, because you can't just keep shoving one hero and maybe a couple of unknown heroes into your movies and expect to make $1 billion. I think those days are over. And that's why I have my expectation for this movie to be low. You need either a pseudo ensemble cast, but if you're just going to have that character be by themselves and not have anyone else, you just got to put it in a Disney Plus show. Stop trying to create gigantic movies without actual like casts in them. Like, I wish this was a slight, like, you know, sequel to Civil War, you know, where he's leading a team against another team or leading a team against someone else. That would have been, I think, a much more fun movie. But I know what the goal of this movie was, which was to solidify him as Captain America, and I feel like it does that. But I do feel like it was hurt by some of the things I talked about earlier, and that was pretty much it. I'm going to give this movie a 6 out of 10, and I'm your boy.